Good afternoon. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Friday, June 6th. A new travel ban set to take effect Monday with restrictions for 19 countries. The ban's raised uncertainty for immigrants in Washington who have relatives expected to arrive in the U.S. in the coming days. Malu Chavez is the executive director for the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project.
It's just going to lead to further suffering of our communities. It also sends a clear message of who is welcome and who is unwanted in this country.
Chavez is especially concerned about people who have been given asylum in the U.S. and are now trying to get other family members here. She says in some cases, people waiting overseas have been given permission to travel here. It's unclear if they'll face additional hurdles. The Trump administration says those 19 countries need to improve their vetting process and communication about security concerns. Members of the public have submitted more than 500 tips to authorities in the manhunt for Travis Decker. He's charged with killing his 3 young daughters, and his whereabouts have been unknown since last Friday. Authorities say more than 100 officers and agents have converged on Chelan County in the search. The county includes the pristine wilderness known as the Enchantments, which is closed to the public until June 18th or until further notice. People with remote cabins and outbuildings are told to lock their doors. The mother of the 3 young girls sent them for a scheduled visit with their father, and she called authorities when they weren't returned on time. Officials found their bodies Monday near Leavenworth. A fundraiser for their grieving mothers raised more than $1 million for her to take professional leave and pay for memorial costs. To tech news, a new United Nations report blames the artificial intelligence boom for rising carbon emissions and singles out 2 Seattle area tech titans. Monica Nicholsberg reports.
Emissions produced by Microsoft and Amazon's electricity consumption rose by more than 150% from 2020 to 2023. The researchers behind the report note that Microsoft and Amazon are some of the top buyers of clean energy. But they're also top adopters of AI, which demands more power than renewable sources can provide. Neither company agreed to answer questions about the report. In a statement, a spokesperson said Microsoft has realized its goal of becoming carbon negative is a marathon, not a sprint. Amazon also said it's taking major steps to decarbonize. The UN report calls on tech companies to be more transparent about how much AI is growing their carbon footprints. Monica Nicholsberg, KUOW News.
Cuts are coming for the Cougs. The Board of Regents at Washington State University has approved more than $17 million in cuts to the university's core operating budget. This comes as WSU loses some state funding and is still dealing with declining enrollment, according to the Moscow Pullman Daily News. It's also increasing tuition for some students. A spokesperson told the paper there will be layoffs. Now cuts to books. The Washington Talking Book and Braille Library in Seattle is now closed to the public. State officials say it's due to an ongoing budget shortfall. In-person programs, including Braille and low vision workshops, are now canceled. You'll still be able to check out materials by phone or online, but those services will be slower. The Washington State Library had requested $6.7 million from the legislature, but those funds were not included in the budget. Turning to our science beat, last year's strong El Niño appears to have boosted the population of invasive green crabs in Washington waters. That's despite state emergency management efforts for the past 3 years. KNKX environment reporter Bellamy Palethorpe has more.
The state stepped up green crab trapping and monitoring in 2022 after an exponential increase in populations both at Lummi Nation in the Salish Sea and in outer coastal locations, including Grays Harbor and Willapa Bay. Emily Grayson is a marine ecologist with Washington Sea Grant's crab team. She says this year is shaping up to be their busiest yet.
This spring, in a lot of places, particularly in the Salish Sea shorelines, we've seen higher catch rates than any other spring previously.
New detections near Port Gamble and the south end of Whidbey Island have her concerned that green crabs could start establishing big populations in Hood Canal and Puget Sound. I'm Bellamy Palethorpe reporting.
There's a big Salish Sea-wide molt blitz taking place on June 20th and lots of free training opportunities in the run-up to it. These activities are kid and family friendly. Molts can serve as an early indicator of the presence of European green crabs in a new area. COVID vaccine news today. Providers in the Seattle area are still strongly recommending the COVID shot for their pregnant patients since they're at high risk of severe disease. Eileen O'Neill has more.
Previously, both the CDC and the FDA recommended the COVID shot during pregnancy. But last week, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy stepped in and asked the CDC to rescind that advice. He did not give a reason for the change.
The science really hasn't changed. The studies that we have show that COVID-19 vaccines are safe in pregnancy and effective in pregnancy.
Elisa Kachikas is a UW medicine doctor who researches vaccines given during pregnancy and takes care of patients with high-risk pregnancies. She says the professional organization of OBGYNs in the U.S. still strongly recommends that pregnant people get the shot, both for themselves and to protect their babies.
Babies are actually more protected against being hospitalized if their mothers have received a COVID-19 vaccine.
Kachika says many of her patients were already hesitant about the COVID vaccine, and less than half of them chose to get it. Eileen O'Neill, KUOW News.
Two bits of labor news for us today. Upwards of 30,000 grocery workers at local Safeway, Albertsons, QFC, and Fred Meyer stores have voted to authorize a strike. The union, UFCW 3000, says more than 97% of its members decided to reject the latest contract offer from Kroger and Albertsons. Union leaders haven't said when a strike could actually occur. Kroger told King 5 that the company's latest offer includes better pay and investments in health care. Seattle Public Schools has begun contract talks with its teachers union. 2 contracts for school staff expire this summer, one for educators and one for support staff, including classroom assistants. The district has proposed a 2-year extension of the teacher's contract, but the union proposed a 1-year extension, according to Seattle Education Association President Gerard Monteo Thompson. He says the shorter timeline's due to federal funding churn and the district's ongoing budget deficit. He says the union does want to renegotiate its contract for support staff.
So like our office secretaries, all of our paraeducators, a lot of those folks aren't making enough to be able to live in the city they work in.
A spokesperson for Seattle Public Schools says the district will not share details of its ongoing negotiations, but that the district remains hopeful about the path ahead. Rangers will start patrolling King County's parks and trails this Saturday. The county council approved funding for 6 new park rangers in this year's budget in response to trailhead break-ins and other public concerns. The budget includes $1.6 million in ongoing funding for the program. Rangers will visit King County parks, conservation areas, and do work in some backcountry and biking areas. Finally today, authorities have arrested a man suspected of stealing instruments from the Seattle band Heart. 2 irreplaceable instruments were taken from a venue in New Jersey last weekend, a purple sparkling guitar and a vintage mandolin. Atlantic City police say surveillance video shows the suspect selling one of the instruments, the other instruments unaccounted for. The man's been charged with burglary and theft. And that's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Have a great weekend.